On the escalator again.
Leave it alone.
What?
Comics.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
TV and movies. Wrestling. Music.
We are just getting started!
Finally, a podcast about things you actually care about, hosted by a couple of guys who actually care about those things too.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yep. Maybe a little too much.
Yes, that's awesome.
The talented one, Chris Machete.
That no-talent ass clown became famous.
And Brenton, you know, that guy from your other favorite podcast.
I liked it. I was good at it.
So grab onto the handrail and don't let go.
I'm gonna get a medic! There's a little boy caught the escalator!
This is the Kids on the Escalator podcast.
Woo!
Here's CM and BD.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Hi.
Yo, what's going on?
What's up, buddy?
It's Thursday. Back to it. Not a Monday. Had to push it a little bit, but here we are.
Right.
Live.
Playing some
on the
hockey
Dean
after
Blake
this. Just get me all ready.
Yeah, you're gonna go play some hockey tonight. Look at you.
I am. 9:30 tonight.
Now that you can't watch hockey.
Oh, I can, man. I'm watching the Flames and the Oilers series. That's a good one, huh?
Jeez, I mean, is it going to be 10 goals every night, like 15 goals a night? I'm not sure.
They played one game last night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what happened? I missed that. I've been busy working. What happened?
9-6.
Whoa! For who?
Calgary.
Oh my gosh!
Calgary scored 1 minute in, and then another one 2 minutes in, or something like that. And then they got like a 4-0 lead.
Yeah,
I think was it 4-0 or 3-0 lead.
Yeah,
and then Edmonton scored, and then Calgary scored, and Edmonton scored, and then Edmonton tied it up at 6.
Holy crap!
And then Calgary got a couple in an empty net, and then it was just crazy because Tkachuk got a hat trick.
Oh.
And Tkachuk's brother, who is the captain of Ottawa, was in the stands dressed in full Flames garb cheering him on.
Wow.
Very interesting,
Yeah.
which was cool. And then there's a really funny tweet Dean found today, but Chuck, when Evander Kane ran over McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a scrum and everything. And then I guess Tkachuk looked at him and said, "Hey, do you need some money?"
Yeah, I saw that.
To
I saw
Evander-
that. That's the only thing I saw in the game.
That was great. Yeah, it was
He said he-
9-6.
Wow.
Which was a pretty awful game. It was pretty fun to watch from a goal standpoint, but pretty
Right.
awful from a try to win the Stanley Cup standpoint.
Yeah.
I have a feeling the next game's going to be 1-0.
Oh, could be, huh? Could be. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, I've been so busy working on projects. I and the Leafs out too. I just forgot about it. Forgot it was even on.
Yeah, it was. And I don't know, like where you stand. I guess we'll just jump into it. Stand by. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Then who do you like? Who do you got? I mean, moving.
Well, I think the
forward.
Avalanche is going to win it all.
Yeah, they're pretty. I'm with you. I had them, and what did I have? At the beginning of the season, we'd have to go back. I think I had them and the Islanders, or them in Florida.
Right.
So we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be that. I think the Lightning's going to pull it off again. I think they're going to make it to the finals, but I don't think they're going to beat the Avalanche. But I think it's going to be the Avalanche and Lightning. Lightning got the coach, man.
We can't forget about Carolina or in there.
I know, right? I know. I can't. I don't know. I can't see it. And it's like the Leafs got beat by the Lightning, and I think that you nailed it. Is that the coach? They got out coached, I think. And I don't see very many people saying that, which is weird. Like, I just think overall you were right. They got out coached. And when you listen to that gentleman talk, they got outclassed as well, because he's a much more classy individual than anybody who speaks for the Leafs with a suit on. You know what I mean? I'm not going to point out anybody in particular, but man, he's got so much more class. And I was talking to my neighbor about it too, because I brought up your point, because I agree with you, is that they are outcoached. And I said to my neighbor, I told him what I thought about that, and he's like, "Yeah," he said, he's kind of a dick, but he gets right on the edge of it. But then he's like, "No, he's just confident. He's one of those guys, right?" And then to top it off, you want to have a beer with him, like you want to sit down and hear him talk some more. But you know how you talk to some people and they're just like cocky, or like Tortorella is just like where this guy's more like calm in his approach, and right when you think he's getting a little too arrogant, he reels it in, and it's more confidence.
Well, he said about what we talked about last week, where he was like, they lost that one game, and everyone was kind of like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Listen, we scored 6 goals on the guy.
Yeah,
we're not worried."
No.
Like, you know what I mean? And people are like, "What an asshole." It's like, listen, the guy won 2 in a row, plus the couple of playoff exits prior to that. I mean, it's what we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
The stat was awful. The fact that they've never lost back-to-back. Vasilevsky's never lost back-to-back, let alone give up a goal. When you finally gave up a goal in game 7, I was like, oh, here we go. But then everyone's freaking out, and they're going, the thing that's driving me crazy is the Bettman in the league are against all Canadian teams and Toronto to win the cup. And I'm like, are we still on this? Are we still, speaking of conspiracy theories, are we still on this? The league is against Toronto. Sure, there was clutching and grabbing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But listen, bottom line, score goals and don't make it go to game 7. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. It's as simple as that. It's like, it got to game 7. So it's anyone's game. Like, Jesus Christ. It drives me nuts.
Well, the coach there for the Leafs made it so Justin Holl can't show his face in Toronto ever again.
Yeah.
That guy's going to get killed. And the only reason he kept putting him back in the game, it was a personal vendetta against that reporter after that, which was ridiculous. Now, the other thing, too, that I was talking about with my neighbor here, it's so tough with refs, though. Like, I'm not blaming the game on the refs, but that Stamkos was and Bielska picked this up. Stamkos was standing behind the ref yelling at him on that whole call. Mm-hmm. Do you think? And we're all human, man. There's no way you can take the human element out of a ref. Until you do that, no game is going to be fair. No game across the whole NHL is going to be. You can't use that until, you know what I mean? Unless you want to break every call down to a review, have a game last 4 hours. You know what I mean? Referees are human. There's that human side to them. And everybody's going to get different moments. There's going to be clutching that's not going to get called. You're going to miss a cross check, and yes, they're going to pick up that one call.
It all evens out. I think it all evens out.
Everybody, you can't. It's not an even playing field, but it does even out because you know what I mean. Like, generally, when the refs make a bad call, they try and make up for it. Now, that one call there against Holl, Holl didn't have to do that. Tavares had it. He was on fire. He was going to score. He had it. Holl did not have to do that. If Holl wasn't on the ice to begin with, maybe we're not even having this discussion. I don't know what the problem was with Lindgren. Again, I don't like it when coaches make it a personal vendetta as well. Now, I also know that Mitch Marner spoke up on TV saying, well, I don't know why everybody's getting mad at Justin Holl, blah, blah, blah. What he again left out is that him and his wife are my best friends with me and my wife, and we take photos together and we love each other. So what? There's nothing to do with the game, Mitch. Like, obviously you don't know what a good defenseman is.
It drives me. It's when I see any sports, baseball, football, anything, when people go, man, that blown call in the first quarter. It's like, guys, it should never have gotten to a game 7.
No, it shouldn't have. It should. Like, that goes back to coaching, and that goes back to coaching decisions. What was that game where he blew it by putting out the first line? He started the game with and they hemmed him in there, and then scored, and that was and then the coach doesn't take responsibility in the interview. He sits there like this. I did that. He's not the player. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no class at all.
You want to hear a good interview? Listen to Sudbury. That guy.
Oh, he's great.
He's super old guy, but he's like, well, it's not really the Battle of Alberta, is it? It's just 2 teams playing hockey. Like, or he's like, what do you how do you explain your 9-goal performance? He's like, well, I said, in order to win this game, we got to score between 7 and 10 goals a night. So they did it.
That's funny, dude.
But he'll also call it Johnny Gaudreau. He'll also be like, Gaudreau wasn't good enough. That's it.
And he just says it like that. He's not a dick about it. Yeah. So here's an interesting fact about him as a coach. Back when he was coaching LA, and they were I remember this in the Stanley Cup final game. It was the final round. They were playing some team, and the goalie was a rookie goalie. And everybody was talking about this rookie goalie, and they got Sutter in there, and they're talking to him, and he says, "Yeah, he is really good. A lot of pressure in this series. I wonder if he can handle it. Has he ever been in a situation? Oh no, he hasn't because he's a rookie. That's right. Yeah, I wonder how he's going to handle all this. Just so calm, classy. It was almost like he was just talking to somebody, going, "Wow, he is good." But even though I'm the coach, can he realistically keep this up? What a great guy! Again, though. You nailed it on this one, buddy. Good job. Coaching. I think it lies on the coach. I really do.
Yeah, because listen, bottom line, like, despite all the first round failures and all the rest of it, I mean, they went to game 7 with the Stanley Cup champs. And despite the fact that they were missing, the Stanley Cup champs were missing a handful of people, it was like, people are like Dubas and Shanahan, and they got to go. And I'm like, but do they? Because what are you going to do? I was like, maybe there needs to be a change on the coaching side, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, he still took, if they win that game and they're in round 2 against Florida,
yeah,
and are up 2-0, the people are like, well, this is the greatest thing ever. It's just, you got to get out of that first round. And I think John Cooper really just showed his like calming thing. And it also shows you what a team needs. It shows you that the team needs somebody that is going to take them to that level.
You got to have a coach or a leader who wants to be followed. Like, if you're going to be in there and you're just like, his demeanor on the one interview where he really should have just said, "Yeah, man, you know what? I dropped the ball on this one." He did, and he skated around the issue, and he was like, "Duh, duh, duh." He was all whine. And then his players, that drips down to your players, man. Crap. So I want to talk about one more thing about this. I got a great conspiracy theory for the Toronto Maple Leafs here at the end of the season. Mitch Marner's carjacking was not real. It was just a ploy to make them feel a little more sorry for him. And
I just said that to Lonnie. I just said it to Lonnie. Lonnie and I were talking about it
when that happened to me. Of course, my brain immediately. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, pull the press. Oh, Mitch. Okay, well, it's okay. You lost. Of course, it was. Yeah. Well, whatever. I'm just saying it's just convenient. It's just convenient, and you know how we feel about Big Baby. So,
well, we know how we feel about people who are pulling the strings on stuff behind closed doors as well, right, my friend? We're not getting the full information about anything. But anyway, Leafs. So sorry. We both, Brent and I, agree that it was a lot to do with coaching. Better luck next year. Better luck next season. That's all I can say about it. I don't know.
It's you almost want them to have you want them to have home ice. That part, sure. So you want them to have a solid season, but there was no chance for this team to not do anything but win the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Like, there was just no possible, like, to come in and go, look at this team. This team is going to win the Stanley Cup. That's what the pressure that was put on Edmonton for years. And that cost them like 7 years.
Yeah.
And then you watch McDavid in that final game just completely manhandle LA himself. And that's where, and Lachlan talked about this on the thing, the media is controlled out of Toronto and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, Matthews is the greatest player in the league. Well,
I would say Connor McDavid is for sure.
Connor McDavid basically said, stand by.
Yeah.
And just absolutely annihilated LA himself.
MVP.
Yeah. And it was just like, there's no contest. And so until Matthews, and I'm not even ripping on, but until they can like physically watch him not take over a game January the 9th, or take over a game February the 3rd against
the Islanders or something,
against
right?
The Islanders.
Wow.
Not until he can actually go into game 7 and go, oh, Braden Point's not playing now? Great, watch this. And then just go and
they had it.
5 goals. And so just go score.
One
5
other point I
goals
wanted to make, and this is a coaching mistake as well. What was that Paul guy I keep wanting to call him Paul? But anyway, dude, that guy. And you were mentioning, you get those guys, those top-ranking players who get the eye of the tiger and they win the games. Sometimes it's not the top guy. It's just a dude who's like,
yeah, but most of the time in the playoffs, it's not the top guy. Maybe one game it's the top guy, but it's usually your third line guy.
So this guy, that Paul guy, when he got that first goal and just pushed his way through. After that, I would be saying, okay, that guy had just replaced Braden Point. You know what I mean? Whatever coverage we're putting on this guy. And he went and did it again. Got the winning goal. How come I see this and the coach doesn't? This is when I start to think, what the F, man? What the it's back. I remember there was another playoff game when the coach kept putting in that one defenseman. Was it Gardner?
Maybe, yeah.
What was his?
Yeah.
Was it Gardner? Oh man, he was on for 5 goals, and the poor kid. I could see he's telling him to go back out, and the kid's like, "Oh, dude, really?" And it was the final game. It was against Boston, if I remember correctly, and he just kept putting him back out there. And I'm like, "Oh my god, what are you doing to this poor kid?" Coaching, man.
Yeah, I really think it's coaching, and it's and the funny thing is I've said this before, but I don't know. I don't. I find it funny that these guys still need to be coached. Like
you need a leader.
In the NHL,
you gotta have a leader.
But a systems situation, and they're talking about it with the Florida series because Tampa played a 1-3-1 against them, and they couldn't, and just shut Florida right down. And that's what, and they're like, huh, that's all we have to do, because they were the number 1 pass rush team in the league. Anyways, it was just crazy that that's where the coaching, I guess, comes into play, where it's a system. It's where, well, this guy and they're collapsing, so we're going to do it like this. And so that's where I don't think Sheldon stood a chance, because John can basically recognize where the weakness is and then just go.
Yeah. And
and like when the Canucks were in, it was Burroughs that got the game-winning goal against Chicago. It was, but even back in the Leafs, it was Nikolai Borchevsky, remember? And it was like Dave Ellett from the point, and like David McElwain, like guys like that were like putting goals in the playoffs. And I just
I know, man. I was watching that Paul guy play, and everything he did, even just hits, and when he got that first goal, he went right up to the glass and was just like, just looking at the Leaf fans, like, yeah. And it was like, man, that guy's got the eye of the tiger, the actual eye of the tiger, man. It's kind of cool to see. Like, I see a human being like work at who's not always, not a $10 million player, but going to his height of his expectations and beyond. That was pretty cool to see, man. He just pushed his way right through twice. Like,
I'm amazed at stuff, because, like, as I said, 9-6 in that Edmonton Calgary.
Yes.
Let's go. Both goalies shit the bed. If both goalies shit the bed here on in, then we're going to have 8-7 games, 6-5 games. But Markstrom's great, and Smith played great. Maybe they just left it all on the table in that first round.
It happens,
and so now they're going to have to like do this thing, because it's just something to watch. Because our junior game, like last week, we saw the Giants, which are the WHL, and they played Kamloops, and they were down 2-0, and I watched these young kids, and like six guys on between 2 drafted to the NHL.
Wow.
And you're just watching them like, wow, geez, wow, look at that. like they just take over games, and they just do it. And I just I don't know, man. I never saw anybody take over that game at Game 7.
Right.
It's the same disappointment I had when Vancouver lost in Game 7. I'm like, how do you not get up for a Game 7? Yeah. How do you lose 4-0 in a Game 7? Or how do you lose? How do you just not get up? I don't know. It's
just collapse. Leave it on the opposite. They collapse. Some teams
leave it on the table. Pressure. Yeah, leave it on the table. Go out there and just fucking score. So I don't know. I thought their life lesson was when they lost to Boston years ago, giving up those goals. And I thought, okay, they've all learned, and here we go.
Everybody thought it was Anderson, right? Oh, it was Anderson, man. Let's get rid of him.
But here we go. We're back to it. So what kind of tweaks need to be made? I don't know. I'll bet you any money, though, that if Tampa Bay gets eliminated, you're going to see Corey Perry end up in Toronto. Because Corey Perry keeps picking teams that are very, very close to the Stanley Cup. Like, he's been in the Stanley Cup final like 3 years in a row and never won, or hadn't won. He was with the Dallas. He didn't win.
He got it back in Anaheim way back in the day.
Way back. But just funny right now, every team he picks makes the final, but he hasn't won with that team that he's picked in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So
we got Corey Perry from Peterborough, Ontario.
So maybe Corey Perry will end up in Toronto if Tampa is out. But then they got to
Yeah.
make room for. They got to kick Spezza off to make room for him. So I don't know.
Right. Well, I think Spezza might. I'd be pretty funny if Spezza just put one more year in Ottawa and then retired. I don't know. Spezza should coach the team. Get him there. As
You
a
know,
coach instead.
Ottawa's as bad and shitty of a team that they had this year. They actually finished pretty strong. So I wouldn't be
Well,
surprised.
see, there's something to be said also about keeping the same guys together. You know what I mean? Like, do the Leafs really need to be tore apart? Do they really need that, or do they just need like maybe like a
Well, clearly not. They scored a shit ton of
Well,
goals.
that's what I'm
this year.
saying. Like, and plus, I always hate it when they tear things apart for no apparent reason, just because something didn't work. Let's just throw this guy's cheap. This guy's cheap. Like, there's something to be said about keeping a group together and getting that bond. And if it's this close to the same guys next year, then they've got that same like, oh fuck this man. Remember that last year? I do. Yeah, I remember we went for dinner. Fuck these guys. You know what I mean? Like maybe they can get some camaraderie going. I don't know.
You know who they're missing?
What's that?
Van Riemsdyk. Van Riemsdyk.
Van Riemsdyk.
That guy, yeah, James Van. He scored more goals in a Toronto uniform in his time when he was in Toronto than any other team, any other player.
In the playoffs?
No,
in the playoffs.
He's a playoff. He's a playoff guy, but they never really were in the playoffs when he was on.
No, but I think he did great when he was with the Leafs, but I think when they traded him, he was basically, I don't think he was doing much after that.
It's just an interesting.
Mark was a big fan of him too. He's great in front of the net and stuff, but I think when the Leafs let him go, it was about time because he hasn't done anything since. You don't hear more about his brother on defense there, right?
Yeah,
and apparently Cody Ceci is like number one pairing in Edmonton right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you've got what's his nuts that went there from Toronto as well. Had a really good game.
Oh yeah, I never liked him. I know who you're talking about. They got him from the Avalanche for Kadri.
So there's some like I don't know what needs to be done too. I love O'Reilly. So I mean
I'd get rid of the coach if it was up to me. I would get rid of the coach, but at the same time, I'm 50% get rid of the coach. I'm 50% just leave it alone.
Well, you can always use more defense.
Well, yeah, if you can get a good like Giordano was great. I'd love to see Giordano back in there. The only thing they got to get rid of Mrazek. They just give him away. But if they could maybe take, say, oh man, one of their defensemen who's pretty good. I'm trying to think of who it would be.
Well, Jake,
if they're not going to play Liljegren,
Muzzin had a great playoff, but I don't know.
Yeah, see, if they took Muzzin, are they ever going to use Lindgren? Like, what the F, dude? Because Sandin's coming up. He was injured. They couldn't use him. If there's some way they could wrangle in a really, I can't even think of anybody that's available or who they could get defense-wise. Maybe go for that. But, I would either move the coach or I would just keep it the same.
Coach is going to be back. They already said that.
Oh, I know. They're a nice.
The two guys are going to be back. I don't know.
Paul's going to be back too, probably, buddy. He'll probably be on the second.
You'll see a couple of like. It's going to be an interesting offseason because there's a lot of free agents out there. I think
there is a lot of people are still signed for the Leafs too. It's not like a contract year for anybody serious.
I want to say Marc-Andre Fleury's going to be available again.
Yeah, but he won't come to the Leafs. He doesn't want to come to the Leafs.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the pressure at that age, I don't think.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the offseason. But anyways, that was tough to watch and shitty because whatever. But
at least I'm not stuck to the TV every time they play.
Well, as I say, the funny thing is like now that they're out, it's like would somebody say you're just saving yourself the embarrassment from like a final when they would lose to Colorado, somebody said.
Well, that would be exciting. I would take that embarrassment to watch it all the way to
yeah, absolutely. I don't know what would be more defeating, them losing the Stanley Cup final or losing the first round again. I don't know.
Well, if they made it to the finals, at least that would be inspiring to know that, okay, we got the team, man. That was close. You know what I mean? Like we got the guys. We just what happened there? And then you just look at it that way. Like, but I think they could use. I always thought this is if they could get like a Pronger on defense. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where you're going to find that or who could fill that role. But if they could get a real or just another player, one of those guys like Marchand that nobody likes, but they're really good and they help turn like Tucker was good that way, right? Oh man, he would do borderline dirty things. You know what? He would change the scope of a game. The way Clifford did in the first game, man. Went out there and railed a dude. All right, we don't need Clifford anyway. Thanks.
I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Evander Kane actually at the end of the season, because the guy's a mess, but he's playing some pretty rad hockey, and
Well,
that's
I
a
think
guy that would probably fit there.
in Toronto.
Well, I'm just saying from the grit side,
Oh,
which they need.
maybe. You know, Max Domi's going to be getting his dad knocking on Toronto doors. See what I did in the playoffs, man? See what I did in the playoffs? That was really good.
I mean,
It would ruin his career, man. There'd be so much pressure on him.
yeah,
Oh
it's going to depend on what happens with Carolina, because I think that's a tight little market to play in too.
Apparently, Carolina's a nice place to live.
Yeah, a friend of ours lives down there, and it's great. And it's a
Edge lives down there, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. I've heard other people too say that it's really a cool place to live.
Yeah, it's a cool place to live, man. All right, so we're gonna connect some movies.
Let's stop talking about hockey. I'm gonna play hockey soon.
You have you had some theory and some stuff on some movies that are connected that we didn't know are connected.
I do.
That's what you told me. That's what you said we're doing today. Movies that are connected.
No, just top 10. No, top 10. Oh, just my top 10 movies of all time.
Copy.
Huh?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the top 10 movies of all time that I could watch basically anytime.
Copy. So false advertising then, friends, because my impression from what Chris sent me this week was all these movies are connected. I'm going to connect
all the topics for
all my topics to you. So the 10 movies that are connected to Chris Machete.
My cult of Machete, I think our stories are connected to each other.
Copy.
That's what's connected. This is just 10 awesome movies that everybody should watch, and I'm going to tell you why and who's in them and when they were released and some wicked highlights, man. You got to be into good movies. And the key thing to this, they're non-comic related.
That's what we were talking about. The non-comic book
sci-fi space related. Yeah. That's the big kicker, Brett. That's it
right.
there. It was like,
that's right.
But the other things are connected. But so this is non-comic book related movies, because we know we love our comic book movies here.
Yes.
And so to do a list without any of them in there, I think is a cool thing, and our viewers would appreciate that, and our listeners. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do these in not really any particular order. Now, of course, we find that the older we get, the more our opinions on movies and tolerance for certain things rises and lowers. So your movies choices are going to change. I found now that I'm getting an old guy. These are some of the movies that I really like to watch in the summertime. Okay, so this is like top 10 movies for my age right now, and for the era that we're in. I find in the wintertime I like to watch really suspenseful stuff, I guess because it gets dark early and whatever.
Sure.
So here we go here. Let's just start with, the movie The Burbs. All right.
Gotta love The Burbs.
Oh my gosh. This is 1989. This is a great summer flick to watch when you're on holidays. There it is right there. My opinion, this is Tom Hanks' best movie. I know everybody's going to disagree with me, and that's fine. This is Tom Hanks in a movie called The Burbs, 1989. It's a dark comedy, which again is I love dark comedies, man. I love the kind of comedy where you got to like, whoa, or like, ooh, did he really say that? Yeah. All right. So this was directed by Joe Dante. And do you know what movie Joe Dante is most known for, Brent?
No.
Gremlins.
He did
Gremlins 1 and 2, to be honest with you. There you
but
go.
He directed it.
Yeah, he's the director. So that's another movie that he's been successful for, right? You would know him for that movie as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So in this movie, of course, we've got Tom Hanks. We've got Bruce Dern, who's just like a side character in so many movies. It's
amazing,
crazy, right? Yeah. Carrie Fisher.
Yep. Princess Leia,
man. If you don't know,
in a normal role, because we didn't see her in many normal roles then. No. It was all Princess Leia.
And I gotta say, she was very attractive in this. She looked great. She just way to go, Carrie.
She had the 80s mom hair going.
She just looked good. Like, she just looked happy. She looked, you know what I mean? Like, she looked good just overall. I've seen other movies with her where she just is like, oh, whoa, her face is kind of bloated, and she just didn't look too healthy. Whatever. She looked great in this movie. So you also get to see, in my opinion, Tom Hanks at the peak of his career, his greatest movie. You get to see Carrie Fisher looking, in my opinion, the best she's ever looked before. And the story's not huge. You can wrap your head around it. It's not like it's like a fun, easy
little Corey
Feldman.
Feldman. Little Corey Feldman.
Well, that's it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
So Rick, I can never pronounce this guy's name. Rick DeCommon.
I'm looking at the cast
He's
here.
really funny, dude.
Oh, he was the neighbor, right?
Yeah, one of the neighbors, right?
Yeah,
It's not a huge cast in this, okay?
Yeah.
But one of my highlights is Corey Feldman being in this movie. I am a huge Corey Feldman fan. I loved the two Coreys growing up, man. I still do. I think Corey Feldman's awesome. I watch his music videos for entertainment here and there, man. Sometimes I don't take it too seriously, but man, Corey is a rad dude, I think. Like Corey Feldman. I could see me really could you see me getting along well with Corey?
Yes,
Feldman?
I could see you getting along with him. I think he, speaking of conspiracy things, I mean, he is on the forefront of the child abuse thing in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I think, I think it's true.
It was Charlie Sheen that he said did it.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's interesting with Charlie Sheen.
Apparently that was not to get too into detail because the funny thing is that is one conspiracy thing I'm not going to get into is anything about creepy kid things.
Yeah.
But apparently, and Charlie Sheen did it because it was his initiation.
Oh yeah.
To whatever he was getting into.
Sure.
With all Weinstein and everything, all that crap. So yeah. Anyway, I like the movie. Man.
Yeah.
He's like your humble narrator through the whole thing. And it kind of reminds me of myself when I'm kicking back, having a drink in the driveway here, and I'm watching all the madness go around in my subdivision.
Yeah.
I freaking love it.
Yeah, it's like, and there's Carl down the street with the new car. His wife's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and his wife just left, and who's that showing up now? Oh, I've seen her before. Oh, wait, she lives one street over. Oh, his wife's coming home now. This should be interesting.
That guy gets.
I just love stuff like
the dishes a lot, but it's the same driver.
It's great. I tell you one thing too, and I know my mom and dad are watching. Is with my dad out front, he's not quiet about it. What's that guy doing over there? It's like, let's just watch and find out. No, look, he's got something that can take something out of his trunk. What's he got there? Everybody can hear him, right? I guess he doesn't realize.
When we were stuck at home for COVID, like really at home there, that summer of 2020, and you're on your front porch, and you're hanging out, and we're doing like. What's that going? I used to mess with with Leah, be like, "Hey, look!" And she come, "What? I'm like, look at that!" It's like just a neighbor walking down the street. What's he doing? What's he doing? What's that guy doing? That guy's
this movie, The Burbs. Yeah. So this movie, The Burbs, is about Tom Hanks who gets this, a week vacation at home, and his wife Carrie Fisher is like, "Take it easy, man. Just relax. Don't get stressed out." And of course, his neighbors are all conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
A new neighbor moves in. They think the neighbor's up to no good. Hilarity ensues. It's just
it's
awesome.
I don't want to spoil too much. Yeah, it's great. If you haven't seen The Burbs by now, people, I mean, what?
Well, it's a lesser known one, right? You know what? It's a lesser known. It definitely wouldn't be on anybody else's top 3 Tom Hanks movies. You know what I mean?
You'd be surprised, but yes, I'm with you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love it. It's
Great.
not on. It's actually.
It is. It's on Netflix.
I've got it recorded on my DVR.
Nice.
Because it was on one of those movie channels, and I was like, "Oh, I got to record this for the kids."
Yeah.
So
so that's The Burbs, and that was 1989. That movie came out with. That's one of the ones that I watch every summer. I just watched it the other day, spring, summer. Yeah. Excuse me. I love that movie. Okay, now another one along the same. Now this is this one. Oh man, it's another one that just. This movie gives me the feels, summer feels, but in a different way. And I was hanging around. We were both living in the Port Perry area. This gives me the vibes for when I was working at Scugog Island Marina. And it was the worst job I ever had in my life, but I had the best times of my life at night. And we all had crappy jobs, I think, at that time. Me, you, and Dent, we were playing in a band, Mr. Machete.
Yeah.
And I would go to this place, this marina. And I would put on a jumpsuit and I would duct tape it around me and these goggles. And the only thing hanging out was my nose. And I got these burn marks all down my nose from being on my back and the acid from the water I was using, getting the barnacles off the bottom of boats.
Yeah.
And I'd spend my days doing that.
I remember that.
And then we would go out until like 3:00 in the morning, man. I would go into work there. And I worked with a gentleman, Scott Jeffries. He passed away, unfortunately, from cancer. I would show up to work and he'd kind of be my partner I would work with, and he'd be like, "Oh, dude, man, the booze on your breath is just like, wow. Like, did you just have a drink for breakfast?" It's like, no. Like, okay,
Trader Sam's.
Yeah, well, it was like, and then I'd look at my watch, I'd be like, no, it was like 2.5 hours ago. I was like, oh, okay. So that era of my life, man, I had a lot of fun. I had so much fun. It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times, right?
Yes.
This movie is called Adventureland. This movie was released in 2009. There it is there, man. Filled with stars. This is crazy how many stars are in this movie, man. Now, it's supposed to be 1987. Again, the 80s, right? Oh, my gosh. So everybody's loving the 80s. Even now, like the more our decades are just becoming like whatever, man, the 80s and 90s are becoming good. So anyway, this was supposed to be the era of the 80s, 1987. Wow, this is great. So this was written by Greg Mola, directed by, and he did Superbad. Directed by
great.
Greg Mohala, and he did Superbad as well. So you would know him from Superbad as well. All right, and he it says right there, directed for Superbad.
Yeah. And Apatow just did a thing where he was trying to get Jonah and those guys back together.
Oh, right.
For another Superbad, and like maybe when they're in a nursing home.
Yeah, right.
But he's this is gold.
Yeah. So Bill Hader, I think, wrote this one as well. So here, check out the cast in this. This is great. So you got Jesse Eisenberg, right? You got Kristen Stewart right there. Yep. You got Ryan Reynolds, Kristen Wiig, Bill Hader. And then, Martin Starr. Oh man, he's great. All these guys from back in his old Freaks and Geeks days, right? We're just missing like Seth Rogen. Now the soundtrack to this is, oh man, it's mint. It's like that new punk that was coming out, basically like some older Lou Reed stuff. There was some sweet David Bowie 80s, and then like The Cure, The Replacements, that Outfield song, I don't want to lose your love tonight. Just the soundtrack in itself, I will just put on. It's mint. It's just mint. Now, this story is about a guy, Jesse Eisenberg. Forget the name of his character, but not important. So he his parents end up losing their money, so they can't send him away to college. So he wasn't prepared for this. He thought that was his gift, his birthday gift. So he has to take a job. Well, he wants to be a writer. So what kind of a job is a writer going to get? Especially when he didn't think he was supposed to get one. Yeah. So, he's going to look for, his experience is like cutting grass for his neighbors and stuff like that, right? So he's trying to get a job in a factory, even right down to like, busking tables, but he's got no experience. So he goes to the local carnival, Adventureland. And again, the feels in this movie. Now, guys and girls, it has the best way to pick up somebody you're interested in this movie. I'm going to point this out. There's a scene where the two lead characters, Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart, are driving home. Kristen Stewart is giving Jesse Eisenberg a ride home. Kristen Stewart puts in a tape, cranks it up. Great song. I can't remember the name. I was like, anyway. Jesse Eisenberg looks over at her. She smiles, nods. He likes the song. No words being said. Reaches over, turns it up even louder, smiles at her, and they can keep no word said. Wow.
Done.
Dude, that's mint. That's like
yeah, because how many times like what's the average dating cycle now? 3 weeks. You meet them, and then it's all done by let's talk to Allie from our network and how many boyfriends she's had in the last 5 months of like 2 weeks. Well, just like keeps getting. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why these guys are such assholes. It's just pretty funny to watch her Twitter and have her melt down. And it's just, but it's like, no. But I think the thing would be is that if she was in a car with somebody and they put they put a cassette tape in.
No, see, she puts the cassette in.
Yes,
and then they turn it up. So, or vice versa.
Sure. So I'm just saying that hasn't probably happened.
No,
there's probably been
like it may have happened.
Yeah.
But just didn't pay attention, didn't acknowledge it, right?
Yeah. So it's so
So this movie is great for people who like a good summer love story, but party and dirty. Brandon's got a boner. Dude, it's so
Dick and fart jokes. Adventureland.
Yeah, but they're kind of, and Jesse Eisenberg's character is a very smart guy.
He plays that guy
So
in
it's
almost
good to
everything.
see the hero be just, and he's
You know,
pot
he,
cookie. Oh, what the hell? My life sucks. It's just great.
you know what he's turning out to be? He's gonna end up being.
Alan?
No, he's turning into like a new Jason Bateman
Jason
because he's kind of playing the same guy. Bateman's like, I've found my
Mm.
character, and that's all I'm gonna play for the rest. Like you never see
gotcha.
Bateman playing like he's not. Even when he was in there was like that super serious, I think called Kingdom or something. There was a super serious movie about the Iraq War, and he was like,
Mm.
you know, taken, or the Taliban took him and we're going to cut his head off and everything. Even then, he was still Jason Bateman. Like, oh, you're going to do that? That's not good. I don't like
That kid from Silver Spoons.
Yeah, but he's in the Ozark. I don't think you've watched it yet. Like
Not the new
incredible,
season, but I saw the first.
incredible series, and it's him. And Eisenberg is like that because he's the same guy in Zombieland. He's the same guy in this. He's the same. He's kind of, even when he was playing Lex Luthor, he was kind of like,
Ugh.
yeah.
You know why that?
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't watch his own movies, dude. How
Yeah.
can you learn to get better at something if you don't review what you've done?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. I guess it works for some people.
A lot of guys don't. Do you listen back? Check this out. Here's a good point.
Confidence, right?
Here's a good point. Here's a point for you.
Wow,
Do you listen back to your podcasts?
I don't like the sound of my voice.
Right, but
I don't. I know that I don't need to get. But I'm just being myself. I don't need to. I know I don't need to get better at being myself. Right? Like if people don't like what I'm doing, then
a lot of actors don't watch their own shit.
Right.
They just don't. They kind of leave it on the table. You hear about it. You hear about it a lot. Like even when I was listening to Talking Sopranos, and they were reviewing every episode, they're like, "It's the first time we've watched this since it came out." Like that's what they were on the greatest show in the history of television, and they've never watched it because they're just emotionally attached to it. It's and I can
see once it gets going, but like just I don't know, just as a $1 million movie guy, you'd think but everybody works differently. I just found that odd.
Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this. Let me give you an example. So when I go to a concert now, as a regular person at a concert, I go and try to just be in the crowd and normal, but I'm constantly going, oh, what did they put in the air for rigging? What did they use for lighting? What did they do for this? What did they do for that? And I'm just never off at a concert, even though I try, which is why I don't want to be involved in movies at all, because I don't want that magic to go away. Whereas someone comes and watches what I do, spend a day with me at a concert, and they're just amazed at how it gets put together. That part's gone now. It's all just logistics. You, comic books, you write yours. You know where your zone is. You know what you're capable of. You know how to write a story. You know the whole thing. When you go to a Comic-Con, you are not just a patron going like me and Alex and Samantha. You are a comic book artist. So your perspective at that Comic-Con is just a little bit different than mine. Right? You just have a different, oh, I know what that guy's doing. Oh, that style that he drew, that's amazing. That's like this artist. I don't know that stuff. You know that stuff. An actor goes in and goes, I left everything on the table. I can't watch it again. I just because I don't want to, if I'm playing a dark character, I don't want to be Heath Ledger and Joker again. I just don't want to be that character. But that's Jason Bateman's answer is like, I just take something that speaks to me and I play it the same every single time. And he just keeps getting cast exactly the same. And he's the exact same guy in every single movie. Unlike a character actor like, say, Johnny Depp or De Niro or something that's trying to change things up a bit.
Yeah. Speaking of De Niro, let's talk about Taxi Driver. Holy crap. Taxi Driver. That's just like, look at that. The mohawk, the transformation of just getting a mohawk in this character is sensational. Man, Taxi Driver, 1976 by Martin I Hate Marvel Movies Scorsese. Now, again, this is a Dreamcast here. This is just like insane. And again, a compact story that you can follow. You know what I mean? Everybody loves, I love a real, mind thinker, mind bender. But again, more in the wintertime, summer, I don't know. So the main cast, right? We got De Niro, we got Keitel, we got Jodie Foster, Sybil Shepherd. Those are basically our main characters. Now, how old do you think Robert De Niro was when he filmed this movie? You can take a look at the picture if you want.
If it's 46 years ago, which is when that movie,
1976.
so it would have filmed in like 74, and he's like 80. So
It
he'd
filmed in
be like mid
75. It's filmed in
30s.
75. They filmed it in a year. It cost 1.3 million, and all the actors took a huge pay cut to make the movie.
Oh yeah,
but they filmed
I
it
would
in a year.
imagine so. I would say he was probably 30 something. Yeah,
31.
yeah.
Now, how old do you think Harvey Keitel was?
Harvey Keitel, they're around the same age. I would say he's probably in his 40s.
Oh, 35.
35.
And you
Okay.
get his
Yeah.
appearance in there. It's just like it takes you like a second just to like, whoa, that's Harvey Keitel. It's
Yeah.
got like this long hair. It's just like, wow, it's awesome.
I'm trying to find out. You keep rolling here. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
find.
Okay. Now, here was the thing about this film too. This was 76, right? And Jodie Foster. How old do you think she was?
She was 14 years old, I believe.
12.
Yeah, 12 years old.
12, and she was playing a
Yeah.
prostitute.
Yeah.
So that didn't go over too well. And of course, she dressed like a prostitute as well. So that although that was going against the film, it blockbustered. It did so well, really, really well. Whereas The Burbs did not do well, and was Adventureland did not do well either. Did not do it well either. This movie did though. This movie did sensational. It's a cult favorite now. Some of the highlights from this, man, or one of the highlights I find is just the transformation of the character Bickle there. When instead of a huge costume change and everything, he shaves a mohawk into his noggin there, and even like some of the other people don't recognize him from before. You know, puts on a different coat, shaves a mohawk in his head. And that's actually a transformation in him, which is cool. It's there he is there. He really wants to date Sybil Shepherd, there's character, right? He ends up taking her to a porno movie on a date.
Yeah, right. And she's all uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. And then that's it. And from that point on, it really sets him over the edge because he feels even more, separated from society. It's a very claustrophobic feeling movie, and just amazing. De Niro is fantastic in this. This is probably my favorite De Niro movie.
He was on fire, man. He came out of Raging Bull into that.
Great movie. Great movie. It's such a psychological movie, but not a psychological thriller. But you really, and I love this because I love the mental aspect of people. Now I'm really starting to get into that. I want to know why people do things and what makes them tick. And this is a great movie to take a look inside somebody who's kind of mentally imbalanced. They stop taking their pills, and this is in the 70s, right? So this is before it was really well known. And Scorsese does a great job of showing the mental breakdown of a person. Again, not a huge story. It's easy to follow. It's very claustrophobic feeling, but I love it. And one of my favorite, another hidden gem highlight in this is just the 70s scenery. The original, just panning down the street of the 70s.
I'm really into that now. Well, there's two things. I'm into that, watching that like from them, because you just filmed as per the scene. But what I dig now is when they make an attempt to go back and film and make things look like the 70s, and they're able to pull that off. Like with Godfather 2, like they had to go and recreate that whole, like they had to redo the 30s and you just felt like you're there. And it's such an old part of New York that they were able to just do it. So Taxi Driver had that sort of like, I love the idea, even though it would have been awful, but that New York between like 69 and 87 would have been like, you saw it in all the movies, like stick them up, and like, guys getting robbed and cops making $18,000 a year.
Yeah.
And like guys I just watched American Gangster the other night again, and I was like, look at all these guys on the take, and it's a true story. Every cop is on the take because it's like they got to make more money.
That's the way it was going with the mob when on that.
You got that car in the background. You got the old Nova in the background there.
That's like, again, I think that's the hidden gem, the highlight of this movie is just the scenery. Yeah. It's beautiful. And plus Scorsese's in a scene, 2 scenes, so you can pick them out if you can find him in there. One's a fairly long one. Well, not long enough for him talking, but the other one's a quick one.
And how about Sybil Shepherd? Like, geez, I don't think anyone realized, because she was.
Oh, she's very pretty back then.
After this, she went to like moonlighting and stuff, but gosh, she was gorgeous back.
I saw a movie. Oh man, and there was a girl in it, and I didn't know she was ever really Renee Zellweger, I think it was.
Yeah,
wow, back in the day, holy cow!
Jerry Maguire, she was a knockout.
Before that, though, was a movie I was watching.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. She was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh wow. Okay.
and it was like they did a remake of the text like back in the 90s, I would say, or early 2000s. They did it, and that was one of her first movies. She was
Wow.
she was in that.
That's great.
She was gorgeous too. She's
Wow. And Lily Tomlin too, or not Lily Tomlin? What's the girl that played Wendy in The Shining?
Lily Collins.
Lily Collins? Is
Or
that her name?
Collins. Her last name is
Her name?
Collins, I believe.
Shelley Duvall. Shelley Duvall.
Well, Shelley Duvall, because she ended up being what's her name in Popeye.
Yeah. She was really attractive too. Before Kubrick got a hold of her. Poor lady. Anyway. So we only got 10 minutes left here because as I mentioned, I got to go to hockey. So do we want to do any more movies, or do we want to talk about?
Well, you can wrap up. Okay. Well, let's leave those two right now, and then I'll come up with one. I'll come up with a couple for next week,
sure.
And then we'll just list them all.
We can continue. I only got halfway through the list.
Yeah, we'll continue to list them on Twitter. Our favorite movies. You guys can weigh in and all the rest of it. But first, Chris is launching a brand new show, and we got an intro, and you get to watch it. And here you go. Whammo.
Top shelf all the way.
When I look at that alien, the guy lying down there with the alien reminds me of that movie Fire in the Sky.
Oh, it's a great movie. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where that was like, I saw that in the summer. Speaking of summer, I went and saw that in the summer with my mom and my sister. And it was like
in the theater or in a
in Oshawa, the Oshawa Center. And the probing and all the rest of it, it was like
awesome. Yeah.
So that was crazy.
So there's our intro. Of course, our my comic company manager, I had a great position. I had the title that I can't remember what it was. But anyway, my wife Lonnie. I had a title for her in the Machete company, and I can't remember what it was.
President of Machete Comics. Let's just go with that.
Maybe it was president. No, it was something though, dude. It was really good. Anyway, my wife did that intro. In between doing like another video that we're doing a speaking thing for the city that I'm doing, or for the high school. No, public schools. I did this whole video that she's editing for the public schools all over Kingston, man. It's the beginning of a whole thing. I'm going to help with kids. Because another thing I just want to mention real quickly is I did finished off my workshop in town here in Kingston with a whole bunch of kids. And I just have to impress upon the point that the kids are the future. These kids are going to be looking after you people. See, Brent, I'm not pointing at Brent because Brent understands this. Now, I don't understand a lot of times. The kids talk to me about teachers and other kids and stuff and parents, and I just don't understand, why some adults don't just take 5 minutes to just point their kids in the right direction of what's right and wrong. If I had $1 for every time I had a kid that I taught that was just confused about what was right and what was wrong, and to me was a simple, no, that's wrong. Right. You know what I mean? If I had $1 for every time I've had to answer a question like that to a kid, I would be rich. So, and I'm not saying there's bad parents out there. I'm not doing that at all. All I'm saying is that if you're helping a kid out, or a kid, or you're a parent to a kid, take that extra time and listen to them. They'll have questions. You don't have to sit there all afternoon, but answer a few of them. You're going to make the world better, man. And it's going to be better for you in the long run. All right. The kids in Kingston here I had, if any of them are listening, thank you so much. They were amazing. All amazing. The parents, I met everybody lined up to thank me at the end here in Kingston, which was, I've never had that happening before at a workshop. All the kids and parents lined up, not only to get my autograph, but just to thank me. So as I say, again, the kids are the future. The more you deny that and put them down and be douches to them, the more you're going to get a bag of douche when you get older.
Absolutely.
Don't complain when it happens. Right? Am I right?
Yep. It's the future. Well, it's not a difficult thing. We've got a problem out here with a bunch of girls jumped a girl, beat her up, and it's like, I mean, I was bullied as a kid. It's like, where's the disconnect here? Why, some people just want to fight, as Alfred says, some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody is good at something. If you're
Mhm.
not attuned into that when you're young, or if you're pushed away from doing what you want to do, what you believe you are good in, you're going to go to the easiest next best thing.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to be a good thing. Now, these guidance counselors that I had when I was a kid were pieces of shit. I am hoping that they're better today. Again, I'm not in the school system anymore at all.
I just talked to one today. I just
And
talked to
how
one
did it
today.
go?
I mean, a little elusive. I
Yeah,
gotta
see,
tell you, because I'm like, I just want to, I want to ask about, like, my daughter can take some courses this summer. She's interested in um, interior design. She can take some courses. She's only 13, but she can take some courses this summer that gives her credit for next year in high school. And I'm like, hey, can you sign off on this for her? And he was like, well, I got to look into it. I'm like, then look, well, you've been looking into it for a long time.
What
If
an
you could
excuse.
just go ahead and, yeah, we're going to need you to go ahead and just sign that. You know what I mean? And he was just like, well, well, we'll see what we can do. I'm like, see what you can do about what? She
You know
wants
what you
to
ask him next? You say,
do more
"What
things.
is your job? Could you tell me what you
Oh, so
do?"
then I was like, because I was like, hey, maybe she's in French immersion. She needs a little bit of French help. But let's get her a little bit of stuff like that. Like, well, I'm not sure what day that's offered. So I literally, to your point, I said to him, I'm like, but you're the guy, you're the counselor that's been assigned to her class. So shouldn't you know this stuff? He goes,
And
well, a lot of these courses are new, quote unquote, since COVID. I'm like, don't give me the
yeah,
COVID,
man.
the
The thing
COVID
is,
thing.
if you talk to again, I love getting inside people's heads. I do. I don't feel bad about it, but I experiment sometimes, and it's amazing how when you talk to somebody, if you come at them a little, not rudely, that's the key. Don't swear at them, but if you come at them firmly and intelligently, and then don't say anything, you're probably going to get more. They're going to panic and give you an honest answer. I found, which is cool, and that works on me. So it's not going to work anymore, friends. That would work on me big time. Oh man, you say something really sternly and smart to me, and then just look at me. I'm like, fart. You know what I mean?
I was just like,
but
dude,
I'm just saying.
I'm like, I don't know. I said, you're just not like, from example, if I'm on tour, while I'm on tour,
Yeah,
in
that's tough, dude.
that tour, within 30 shows, I can tell you an answer for every show that's happened thus far, and what might come ahead. If you ask me in New York what that $90 receipt was from Florida, I can be like, oh, that was an extra catering bill. Why? Because it's my job to know everything that's going on with that tour at all times. So this guy is a guidance counselor guiding children into
He's
the
not doing
next
anything.
thing.
He's
Yeah,
not
I was just
doing
like, I was a little bit like,
anything,
dude, what are you?
See, that's the thing, and because the government run too, right? So the thing, if a kid came into me back when I was teaching, and I didn't do anything for a whole half hour, I'd get a phone call probably about 10 minutes after that lesson when that kid said, "Oh, we didn't do anything, man. I sat there and looked at his computer." You know what I mean? But these guys can get away with it. And again, linking to my conspiracy theories, it's a crazy world, my friends. It really is. And I'm really looking forward to getting these conspiracy theories going. I got a jet here, though, because I got to go play some hockey. But yeah, we're going to continue on with, I guess, our top 10 movies there.
Yeah, we'll do that, and I'm going to put some of them up on Twitter for you guys to weigh in on. And
Excellent.
and
I got my conspiracy theory show. We're going to start filming that on the weekend. And my first topic is going to be the moon and why are we not going back there? And man, I got some interesting stuff for that. Stuff that's going to make you say, what? The moon. Why are we
our
not
buddy
going
John,
to the moon?
our buddy John is going to come on and join me for that. So there you go.
Former CIA agent, right?
Close.
Close.
Secret
What was it?
Service.
Secret Service. That's awesome. That's right. And all I remember, see, I'm trying to look at people as just people, which is great. But this person is an awesome guy to talk to about this conspiracy theories. I feel so comfortable talking to him about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent about it, and he's taught me things without trying to. Like, I listened to what he's like, taking a conspiracy theory and breaking it down, because it's so hard to just take a big, like the JFK assassination. Okay, well, what part of it? Holy crap, man. So I've learned a lot just from listening to him talk. Great guy. Yeah. And I'm honored.
Well, people are just people are just people unless those people have done things, in which case and they have a little bit of knowledge, then they're a little bit different than other people.
Yeah,
in a good way. In a good way. The same way I would interview you about comic books. You're different than the guy that changes
but I mean,
tires
just
down the street.
as a whole, we're all here on the planet, man. We're all just people. We're all
But
just
are
people.
but are we?
But are we? Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun.
Right.
Good times.
Rad dudes.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Okay, game on.